This is a gouache painting that I think really grabs your attention right off the bat. It's one of those pieces, if you walked into a room, you would walk straight for this piece. I think part of it is the incredibly bright, saturated colors, but also there's so much movement. The way that all the different components of the piece are dispersed throughout, I think is really well done.
The composition is really dynamic, and there's a lot of energy and movement to move the viewer around the piece. There's good resting spaces, and there's a lot of detail in every section to kind of admire and work through.
I think at times it almost feels too distinctive. Like immediately when I looked at the image, I thought that this guy in this yellow suit was that guy from that Gangnam Style video that came out a few years ago.
Do you like that, or do you think that's problematic?
Well,
because I hear that a lot. People will say, oh, that reminds me of this.
I think given that this piece was not about that music video and was actually about the milk industry, was not working for me. Mm-hmm. I definitely was not thinking of the milk industry when I was looking at that.
You felt like it was a distraction, that you made that association.
Yes. The guy has a very distinctive face and glasses, and who wears a yellow suit? Because no corporate business owner I know wears a yellow suit.
My issue with the yellow suit is that it doesn't really convey the mood that the artist talked about in their artist statement. Mm-hmm. And this is also another issue that we have to contend between, presenting a work of art on its own versus later explaining it. The vibrancy of the colors does not convey the despondency that the artist is talking about in their statement. Mm-hmm. The artist is talking about the abuse of cows and the dairy industry and how the conglomeration of corporations are taking advantage of these animals. This bright, bright yellow on this sky blue backdrop isn't really doing that for me.
Well, it's a playful image. It's a fun, almost happy. I mean, although he doesn't look like he looks like he's up to no good, but in a mischievous way. I don't think in a dark, sinister way, the way it's described in the statement.
In a kind of a comical way.
Like Dr. Seuss, I thought of, with those colors especially. Like, you think of the evil villains in, like, the Lorax, for instance. And,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lightheartedness, I think, to the stylistic choices in this painting that, for me, don't align with the statement. I mean, if you think about the abuse in the milk industry, it's pretty severe and very serious. Someone who comes to mind immediately would be the artist Sue Coe, who's done many, many images about the chicken industry, the meat industry, various corporations. I mean, she's really somebody who's dug very deep into that. And if you look at her pieces, they're very stark, very severe, brutal images. And I just don't think that that's being conveyed here very much.
The main focus is on the man holding this money machine. Mm-hmm. And I think that the artist in their statement put an emphasis on, these cows that are being abused, but they're kind of off to the side, and it's not really clear what the relationship is between this man and the cows.
Well, one thing that I had a hard time with in relation to that was the actual machine that he's using with the cows. Like, I couldn't quite figure out what that was. It kind of looked like a ventilation tube.
I thought it looked like a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah. And so trying to figure out, that seems like the umbilical cord to the cow content, but
it doesn't look like an industrial cow milker, which has metallic tubes that attach to the udders.
I mean, that's where you have to do your research as an artist. If you're going to do something about the milk industry, you've got to look up photographs of what those machines look like, what the factories look like, and really understand the ins and outs of that industry.
Maybe even the corporate milker people, like, what do they look like?
Exactly. Well, I mean, if I wanted to personify a corporation, I would say, what is the stereotype of a corporate businessman? Most people, I think, would agree it's a suit of some form. And I think the problem I have with the male figure is that he seems like a very particular individual. He seems like one person. But the thing is, in the artist statement, they talk about how this figure is a symbol for the corporation. And being a symbol and being an individual are two totally different things. I'm wondering how you think that could be changed. How do we change this from an individual to a symbol of a corporation?
The gold suit is a very stylistic individual choice. And I think that, for starters, is what might be causing this confusion for us. to reference that corporate life, I think that, a plain dark blue suit with a red tie.
I think the red glasses, too, now that I'm thinking about that, are also kind of atypical. Like, the people that I know that wear red glasses are generally very colorful people.
Yeah.
Well, they're generally not businessmen, that's for sure.
I wouldn't see a businessman wearing those red glasses. So definitely, I think we keep coming back to color choices.
The saturation, in addition to that, is causing a bit of a confusion. One artist that comes to mind for me is Paweł Kuczynski, who's a Polish artist who does a lot of political cartoons and illustrations. And he has an amazing way of creating kind of dark moods in his pieces by removing a lot of saturation from his colors and the way that he sets up the composition.
Maybe the artist needs to play with scale, because I think once you do something surrealistic or dreamlike with an image, it takes it out of reality and you say, okay, this is no longer real life. This is something else. So I'm wondering, what if there were hundreds of tiny little cows and this figure was this gargantuan figure that was just hovering over? Then you could say, okay, that's not an individual. That's this gigantic corporation.
The cows in the industrial milker factories, they're all situated around this one big kind of tank. What if he replaced that tank?
Like, so he's the tank.
Yeah, that would be a way to address it with that kind of hierarchical size thing that you're talking about.
I mean, there's a million ways to do that, but I think that what I'd recommend to the artist is doing more thumbnailing, because I feel that this almost feels like the first pass, and I feel like there's so much more they could do to push the imagery. On the other hand, though, I love that this artist is tackling what is a very charged issue. I mean, it's a big problem that's not going away anytime soon. And I love that they're really working with that. I think this artist did such a great job with gouache. Gouache is such a finicky paint. It doesn't want to behave itself a lot of the times when I'm painting with it. And I think this artist did such a great job with the brushwork. It's really neatly done. It seems very appropriate for the sort of look that they're trying to get. And I'm really impressed with their command over that material.